Shalom, everyone. And thank you, Josh, as always, and Anmol, who's joining us on tech support. It's such a joy to be with all of you and share our practice together, as always. And as an aside, I've had just so much joy this year seeing many of you in the wild, as they say. And it's such a gift to meet you after sharing our practice online and just delight to give you a hug and speak words of appreciation for one another face to face. And I hope and pray that we'll have the gift of meeting even more of each other in the days and years to come. But for now, we build our connection through the gifts of Zoom and IJS and this beautiful practice. So let's start by sitting. Let's take our seat as we begin together, and your eyes can be open or closed or anywhere in between. Let's just land. Take a couple rounds of breath. Allow yourself to simply breathe, to simply be. Give yourself permission to be Ashrei Yoshvei Vetecha, just content to sit in God's house, wherever you are, not having everything figured out, not perfect, deeply uncertain, just wandering through this vast wilderness of life. We settle here exactly as we are. And we trust that this is enough. All of us, we've left Egypt in one way or another, and we have yet to reach Sinai. Unsure of exactly when and how we'll reach the promised land, or whether we'll reach it at all. But we have here and now. So I invite you to feel the ground beneath your feet, right here. Feel your lungs breathing right now. Your heart beating. Just this. Life force flowing in and between all of us, always. What a gift to be together on this ever uncertain journey. May our practice today strengthen us as we take our next steps, separate and together. May we cultivate the faithfulness, the emunah, and the bitachon that we need to ultimately receive Torah. Let's take another 2 full cycles of breath. And when you're ready, feel free to open your eyes if you close them. So this week, in our Torah cycle, we begin the book of Bamidbar, Numbers, which of course is the 4th book in the Torah. And it narrates the 40 years of the Israelites wandering in the desert or the wilderness. And I want to shine a light on a part of this for our practice today, which is the fact that we receive Torah Bamidbar, in the wilderness. And after all, it could have been otherwise. So I want to think about this foundational teaching and how it might sort of instruct us about where and how we notice the divine voice, receiving Torah formally and informally or experientially, and how it might inform our practice today and in the days ahead. So we're going to look to the Midrash for some inspiration, some of the ancient lore of our tradition that speaks to these very questions. So Anmol, if you can bring up the text, that would be great. And as always, I love that our repository of sacred text offers us creative and inspiring interpretations. But I encourage us as we sort of move through them, we're not going to kind of like get stuck in them. The idea is to bring them into our bodies and bring them into our practice. So the first text from the Midrash, from Bamidbar Rabbah, says, why was Torah given in the wilderness of Sinai? The sages taught, Torah was given with the accompaniment of three things: fire, water, and wilderness. Why? To indicate that as these are free to all in the world, so too the words of Torah are free. Anyone who does not make themselves as open or ownerless, what we call hefker, as the wilderness, is not able to acquire wisdom and Torah. And I just love this idea that Torah is free. It's accessible to each one of us, available to us, just like our breath. From Mechilta, the Mechilta, we read the following Midrash. The Torah was given to the Israelites in the most deserted place in the world. For if it had been given in the land of Israel, the inhabitants of the land would have said, it's ours. And had it been given somewhere else, the inhabitants of that place would have said, it is ours. Therefore, it was given in the most deserted place in the world, where whoever wanted to take it could do so. So, in addition to us sort of being spatially and spiritually ownerless in order to receive it, this Midrash reminds us that Torah belongs to every single one of us, and that anyone who wants can participate and receive it, just like this practice. And I'm going to share one more Midrash from the Tanchuma. It says that God led them around in the desert for 40 years. Said the Holy Blessed One, if I lead them the direct way, every person will take hold of their field and vineyard and will not engage in Torah. Instead, I will lead them through the wilderness, and they will eat the manna and drink the water of the miraculous well, and the Torah will settle in their bodies. Again, this text brings up so much, but I love that it reminds us that acquiring Torah takes time, that shortcuts in this respect don't work, and that part of the transformation comes in simply showing up again and again and letting this practice settle in our bodies. It sounds familiar, right? I mean, this is the meditation practice. Okay, you can take the text sheet down. I know for folks who are interested in having access to these texts, that we'll be sure to put the link to the PDF text sheet in the chat. But for now, I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable, or soften your gaze, and feel into the depth of these words. What does it feel like to render yourself hefker, ownerless, like the wilderness? To know that no one owns you. What does it feel like for Torah to be accessible to all of us. What does it feel like for us to take Torah, bring Torah into our bodies like the manna and the healing waters? Just settling into our bodies and our breath. And what does it feel like to trust rather than control in the midst of uncertainty? So we're going to continue to explore this in our practice. If your eyes are already closed, stay there. As we continue to rest in a posture of quiet aliveness. All of the scaffolding, the earth, the ground beneath you, the chair, the body itself, all supporting the breath and holding space for new life to flow through us. Let's breathe together. Big breath in and a big breath out. Take a moment to sense yourself in this wilderness that is life. Notice the terrain, mountainous, cavernous, hardly monochromatic in color, expansive and stark. And the enormity of the terrain offers perspective on our smallness and our significance. As we continue to sit and settle and breathe, we allow ourselves to be hefker, open and ownerless. We invite in the Torah that is ours to claim, each one of us. We sense into the Torah of our bodies, the deep knowing that comes from within. And if it all feels too unclear and uncertain, remember that you don't have to know. Trust that the way knows the way home. Feel your way in. Notice what you notice. And I'll bring us back together in a couple of minutes with the sound of my voice. Allow your breath to deepen. And as we close this practice, we place gratitude into our hands and our hearts. Gratitude for this invitation to wander in the wilderness with our breath, with our being, with our body, with our awareness. I trust the Torah we seek will find us if we remain true to this path, which demands that we remain open-hearted and receptive. As we go forward into the day and days ahead, may we remember that the wilderness is not something to bypass or disregard. It is the place that we receive Torah and the place where the light of awareness grows. I'm going to conclude with the words of Rabbi Gold. The wilderness is the place of our journey. The harsh inner reality of the wilderness purifies whatever traces of enslavement we still carry. This wilderness is the midwife of our new life after long and hard labor. The wilderness forces us to face the resistance, ambivalence, and self-delusion that has kept us from wholeheartedly receiving our birthright, the promised flow of milk and honey that is given to us and through us with each moment of life. The wilderness will scare out our old ghosts and send them forth from the shadows into the full light of awareness. And in the wilderness, we are stripped of disguises. Defenses fall away. Each part within us is forced to show its true face. Thank you all for your presence and your participation. I turn it back to Rabbi Josh.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your teaching. I hope everybody can stick around. You can stick around at the top of the hour so we can have some conversation and Q&A with Jenny about that teaching and that practice. If you need to leave us, we wish you Tzedchem L'Shalom, farewell, and you can join us when you are able to again. And right now we have an opportunity for those who are remembering loved ones to do so. You can include their names in the chat. And Anmo will put the text to the mourner's Kaddish. Should be able to share that up on the screen. Thank you. And you're welcome to unmute and join me in reciting the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach le'alam u'la'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei tekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol v'chata v'shiratza tushbechata v'nechamata Miran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav u'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen.
Grant peace to us
Amen.
and to all Israel. Amen.
All right. So here we go. Great, we'll just turn the mutes back on there. Okay. So, all right, thank you, everybody. Great, and so we'll bring Jenny back up here. Spotlight her again. And just a reminder, if you have a question, we ask you to just list that or preface that with question in all caps before in the chat so we can see it. You are welcome to respond to one another and just ask you that you practice mindful speech. And so just being thoughtful and mindful, speaking in the first person, fixing, advising, saving, or correcting, as we like to say. So again, if you have a question in all caps beforehand helps us to see that. All right. Um, there we go. Great. So Jenny, thank you so much for that teaching, as always. And it's such a delight and helping us orient to the experience of the midbar, of the wilderness. Um, and you brought a couple of different midrashim about, what the midbar, the wilderness can be for us, why the Torah was given in the wilderness, especially, right? And as we approach Shavuot and next week and the experience today, by the way, if you haven't counted 40th day of the Omer. Uh, but what that experience can be. And I've always loved that first midrash that you brought about making ourselves hefker, that we have to like let go of making ourselves ownerless in order to be really open to the Torah. And then you closed with something really similar from Shefa Gold about letting go of, it's a place, the wilderness can be this place of letting go of the last pieces of enslavement. Um, and and so I would welcome folks in the chat to respond to that how you experience that and where you're experiencing that for yourself this year. But Jenny, I would love to invite you to reflect on that, as we're 10 days out from Shavuot now. How's that showing up for you of the wilderness experience and being at home in it?
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, it's like the themes of Pesach or the themes of the Yamim Noraim. Like one of the things that I love so much is that it's so beautiful to have an invitation to sort of dive into these themes at particular times of the year. And they're also always true, like they're always feel relevant. So, I mean, I'm spending a lot of time working with um, meeting the uncertainty of life with trust rather than with my habitual urge to grasp and control.
Mm,
And this practice is so well suited for that. Even just sort of the way the practice invites me into a kind of beginner's mind each time. Like there's a beautiful, I think it's a Korean Zen practice that Rabbi Jordan Ben Appel once taught me of sort of on the in breath asking, "What is this?" And then on the out breath, "Don't know."
mhm,
And I come back to that all the time, but especially
mhm,
these days as I'm really feeling myself wandering, um,
mhm,
uncertain of how exactly I'm gonna get get to where I'm going and in what shape
mhm,
I'll be. Like, can I just be here with the not knowing and trust
mhm,
that I'm not alone?
mm. Yeah, yeah. Um, and it feels like, here's sorry, just saw that Harris. If we accept that no one and no thing owns us, I realize that the key question is to who or whom what uh I will commit. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
whom or what, yeah. And um yeah, that becomes this question of like agency. Like once we're free, if you accept the idea of radical freedom, I mean that can take you in a lot of different directions. Although the Torah itself, it doesn't necessarily share the same conception. I'm not sure it shares the same conception of freedom as we do, because we're moving from being. It's really about moving from being servants of Pharaoh to being servants of the divine, and there's a freedom in that, obviously, but it's not necessarily the Western kind of freedom that we think of, that we've been schooled to think of. It's much more, I think, in the zone of interdependence and mutual responsibility that I think Harris is pointing to there,
Yes.
for sure. Yeah. Um,
And Harris, I do find it really helpful and necessary to continually remind myself. Um, sort of, it's like what you often will see on the front of a sanctuary or over the ark, Da lifnei mi ata omed, like know before whom you stand. And I don't know about others, but I sometimes get confused. Like I forget who
mm,
who it is actually before whom I stand. And so I appreciate how this practice and this idea of being hefker reminds me, yeah, in a sense, I'm not completely ownerless. Like I belong to God, uh,
hmm
but I also do not belong to others. And
hmm
it's very helpful.
I think I did a podcast once where before Passover, the George Michael song Freedom.
Mm.
I don't belong to you, you don't belong to me. It's actually they use it on a Peloton ride. I think
I
Dennis
should
has it
know
on a
that.
Dennis has it on a cool down ride. Jenny and I are both big Pelotoners. And that's what made me think of it. Like I kept hearing it and I was like, is that really it? Like I don't belong to you and you don't belong to me. It's like actually I think we both belong to each other a
Yeah,
little
we
bit,
do.
but like,
We do. We
and
do.
we don't, right? It's like it's
Right.
both. It's really both.
It's
Yeah.
both.
Um
And it's
uh
the difference
yeah.
between belonging and being owned. That just
Yes.
resonates differently for
Right.
me. It's
100%.
possible for us to belong to one another, but not to be owned by any one person or false god.
And there's some relationship to that, I think, with the idea of being seen versus being watched, right? Like when we're seen, to me, is like, yeah, you're seen, you're valued. That's in the belonging sense. It like
Mm.
acknowledges like that interdependence, intersubjectivity. When I'm being watched is like, that's much more like the ownership claim, right? And it's very subtle, but it's like it's really profound. Like, I mean, it really comes out in English, especially.
Absolutely.
Um, it's
In a,
really interesting.
in a
But
couple weeks, we'll encounter Birkat HaKohanim, the priestly blessing. And
hmm
I often think about that just in what you shared, Josh, that
hmm
like the gift of being seen by God, that God lifts God's face or God's eyes upon us,
mm
not in a sense of being watched and sort of judged, but really being seen.
mm Yeah,
What a blessing
beautiful.
that is.
Yeah. Elon had a comment here. There's probably a deep contrast to be explored between the image of becoming the wilderness of just went down here that these teachings suggest, and Rumi's um, become the sky in quietness, well beyond my pay grade. So beyond all our pay grades, we'll have to get Rumi in here, but and the Baalei Hamidrash, but that's really interesting. The contrast between becoming the wilderness and becoming the sky. Uh, in the poem, we'd have to bring up the poem. It's interesting. Uh, yeah, Elon and Harris are both have some good points today. It's great. Um,
I will say
yeah.
that I have to think about that too, but um, when I pray in the morning and evening, the prayers of that talk about creation, one of the things that's helpful to me is to remember that I'm not separate from creation, that I am, in
hmm
fact, the sky and the sun and the moon and the stars and the light and the darkness and everything in between.
hmm
And and so to the wilderness, like I am the wilderness and there's wilderness in me. We're not separate.
Yeah. Um, and if you didn't already see it, there's a really fabulous um, uh, interactive piece, or not interactive, I don't know what you call it, but like digital piece in the New York Times magazine section about this intersection between Western and Eastern medicine that's now been found about this whole level called the interstitium between the circulatory and the limbic systems. Um, and it's totally fascinating. It's all about how there's this like fluid level between these two systems that were thought to be really separate, that in fact there's all this interstitial stuff that, of course, uh, molecules and everything pass through these cells and work from one system to the other. But Western medicine had always assumed they were just completely separate and they were unrelated. And the Chinese are like, we've been doing this for 4,000 years, but you just have microscopes. And highly encouraged, just on that level of the sense of interconnection and, or interbeing, if you're Thich Nhat Hanh. And and that the wilderness is a place of like reminding us of that we actually, that some you have to leave civilization in order to like experience, like get really quiet, to actually like sink into that and let it, you know, penetrate into us, marinate in it, as it were. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, okay, just a
There's
lot of
no
good.
there's no like shortcut to it. I wish that I wish there was a way of coming into knowing this sort of once and for all and in the most direct way. But the closest way I get is sort of coming back to that sort of knowing again and again and again and again. And this practice just provides such a fertile, helpful, supportive way to do that.
Well, I'll share one other thought. Maybe I'll wind up writing about this week. I don't know, for Shavuot, but I think, I mean, Jenny, when you think about like where do we learn that? I mean, where we learn it is in the womb, where it really is like, it's two beings who are one, and there's like, there's all sorts of things going back and forth, et cetera, and you're literally connected by an umbilical cord. And the
Yeah.
Midrash, of course, says that during that time, that's when we actually know the entire Torah,
Mm,
right? And it's only when we come out, and maybe it's the illusion of, or it's the experience of separation, right? When we come into being as something literally disconnected from our mother's womb, um, that that's the time when we forget, and then we have to like rediscover, that interconnectivity.
yeah, that's
Fascinating idea.
one of my favorites from Yoma. And
Yeah.
back to this whole like what we're learning scientifically, many of you may already know this, but I was recently taught that when a baby leaves the womb, actually it also leaves cells on the mother's body that never ever go away.
Mm.
And so, as somebody who has a child graduating college this week, and I'm
Me
feeling
too.
as yes, I know, as many of you
Hmm.
are also moving through the transitions of this time with hellos and goodbyes, but a lot of goodbyes. It's so helpful to come back into remembering that we are in fact always connected, inextricably connected.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
just a remembering practice.
Thank you. All right. Well, I think that's a good place for us to pause there. Jenny, thank you so much for your teaching and guidance as always today. Thank you, friends, for being here. Thank you to Amol for being on our tech support in the background today. And we will be back tomorrow, same time and channel, and we'll look forward to seeing you.